So we've talked before about how you can come up with a concept for a good encounter, an objective, plus an obstacle, and knowing that obstacle's motivation will give you a solid encounter every single time. But what about the rest of the encounter design process? Today, we're going to talk about all the concepts that are going to be needed to be understood before you move on to the real math of what's going on, and we're going to talk about some of the basic pitfalls that the rules really don't cover. Encounters come in 4 levels of difficulty. Those are Spellcast, easy, medium, hard, and deadly. Easy encounters won't even register on your player character's radar. Your party will just speed right past them like a speed bump. They don't take much time, they don't pose much threat. These are really useful for you as a dungeon master if all you want to do is use an encounter to establish the tone, mood, or types of threats that might be in an area. Perhaps you'll use it to teach your party a specific unique mechanic you've designed for this encounter zone. Medium encounters make up the bulk of your player's experience with Dungeons & Dragons. Medium encounters are going to eat up a reasonable amount of the player's hit points, spell slots, consumables, and other resources. Dungeons & Dragons is designed so that a series of encounters will whittle down the party's resources until they are forced to rest to replenish them. Medium encounters are the bread and butter of that process. Beyond this point in the difficulty chart, player characters are going to need to consider tactics for their sheer survival and not just to minimize the amount of resources they are spending on a given encounter. Hard encounters are where shit starts to get real. In a hard encounter, you can almost be sure that somebody is going to drop to 0 hit points or somebody might die if a series of bad rolls is combined with some bad decisions. This is the first difficulty level where a player's mortality is a real concern. As a side note, this is when the party starts with full resources. If they're coming at it with less than full resources, you got a real dangerous situation on your hands. And then finally there are deadly encounters. In deadly encounters, a bad decision and good rolls, or a good decision and bad rolls, might wind up killing players. If you want nail-biting, we don't know if we are going to survive this levels of combat, deadly encounters are your go-to. However, you should be very careful when throwing these at the party. Try and shoot for hard if you're looking for encounters that are going to be difficult, but not lethal. Save the deadly encounters for the boss fights! Now that we've established the 4 difficulty levels for an encounter are, you'll be much more equipped when we start getting into the math and nitty-gritty details of planning an encounter. But before we get to that point, we should probably cover some of the pitfalls that you might wind up accidentally setting in front of yourself as a DM. There are ways to influence the difficulty of an encounter without using the numbers or stats to do it. Encounters can be made more difficult by springing them on weakened player characters. Weakened player characters might be suffering from madnesses, they might be suffering from heavy-duty debuffs, or they might have already spent a lot of their resources. Imagine a fight that has a huge horde of little dudes starting off when your wizard, who's supposed to be the guy who fireballs things, doesn't have those spell slots left. It's going to be a lot more dangerous, and you might even see a caster go down. You can also accidentally make an encounter more difficult by placing it on terrain that favors monsters' strengths or special powers. You can also do this on the flip side by putting a fight on a battlefield that truly highlights one of the weak points in your party's composition. For example, if you have no melee characters, then a close quarters combat is going to be brutal. There's also the concern of environmental hazards like bridges with rickety droppiness, or cliffs, or acid pools, or collapsing rubble. These can make encounters more difficult for the players, or easier for the players, depending on how they interact with your choice of monster abilities and battlefield. Each of these things can also be used to make the party's battle easier as opposed to more difficult. If the terrain favors the player's strengths or highlights weaknesses in the monsters or even is designed to stifle the strengths a monster is supposed to bring to the table, then the players will have a lot easier time overcoming that combat. Because player character resources are meant to be spent over a series of encounters instead of all in the same encounter, you can also have an encounter wind up feeling a lot easier if a player character has the ability to just blow everything he's got in one fight. So having a party that has too many resources available might make an encounter easier than you expect as well. This is most evident with paladins and their smites. Questions? Comments? Suggestions? Have a different opinion than I do on a subject? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm evilsqueegee, and I'll catch you guys later. Adios. When the rift between your own world and this was first torn open by the heedless pursuit of magic, all the prophets agreed you would lead your homeland into battle against this new realm. Fuck the prophets. As the dimensional rifts crackle to life, you stand not at the front of the armies that hail from the realm of your birth, but you stand defiantly against them to defend this new and wondrous land from their corruptive, controlling empire. To this new people, you are a savior, a messiah. You have prepared them, educated them on what must have been totally alien threats. Your fist crackled with fire as you explained the mighty Facebook, the Instagrams that hover around them like birds of prey. You explained to them the shock troops of Twitter and the communication networks of their Discord, the speed with which information could spread through live gameplay broadcasts on Twitch. But only you can wield the power of the Game Wisp. Wild magic courses through your veins, the power of the Chosen One. But you decided not to be Destiny's weapon. You would be its downfall instead. The portals open, the enemy's armies fall to the ground with thunder, the earth shaking beneath their feet.
Like and subscribe, men!
You bellow to your new homeland, your new people.
Charge!
You have a world of magic at your disposal that your allies have never seen before. What do you do?